There are other towers that are connected by bridges as well to the keep overall, and there are two. Pardon me. There are two great hearths with roaring flames set on either side, and so as you sit down, an array of fine meats, many of which are almost raw in how cooked they've been, are brought out for you to sample, along with sort of a blood puddings, bone marrow. And it's a very carnivorous meal, although there's copious bread that the Hooded Lanterns are using to sop up every last bit of the juices of the meals that they're eating. Red wine is being served throughout. There's a pair of servers that are coming up and down from the stairs, bringing things out, and the whole time. The Chamberlain, De Vries, he is overseeing everything. He looks at every plate as it comes up to be served to you, scanning around to make sure, and even for a moment he takes out a kerchief and polishes away some of the dust on the floor to make everything look proper in its place. And it is here seated, where you are seated with Petra and Ansem, that there is a flourish from the band. A chord is played on the organ, and dramatic chord at that. And descending from the spiral staircase from the upper level comes the Countess. She is flanked by a pair of her own attendants, and she walks across the upper gallery, looking down upon everyone's surveyed as she makes her entrance to the other set of spiral staircases and descends down once more. The Countess herself is a voluptuous woman, perhaps in her late 30s. She has gleaming emerald eyes, crimson red lips, and a flushed round face with a very small pointed nose. Her hair is jet black, and it is tied up into buns and braids that has an intricate headpiece interwoven into it that is set with pearls. And she's wearing a scarlet graft gown and is absolutely dripping with glory. She has painted fingernails that are sharpened into points. And as she comes down into the hall, she almost licks her lips for a moment. And a servant comes up to her and brings her a glass of wine, which she immediately begins running her finger along. She makes eye contact with the Chamberlain and finally says,
BRB.
guest this evening. Well, Chamberlain, are you going to introduce our guests? And the Chamberlain immediately hurries and says, presenting the Countess Constance Kleinkessel. And he gestures first to Wilhelm. And he says, this adventurer, Wilhelm Wolfsbane. And he gestures for you to approach the Countess as she takes her seat on the throne. And she holds out her hands, holds out her hand that is flushed with rings.
I approach, and I'm going to lock eyes with her, kneel, and without breaking eye contact, I hold her hand and kiss one of the rings.
Alright. Her hand is freezing cold.
Noted.
And as you turn, he gestures then to Raph. Says the one known as Raphael.
I approach as Wilhelm did, and in a courtly, that of a mage, I will bow and then approach and kiss the ring.
And finally, Rudy Whitaker.
I get up and I go over to her, but I don't come all the way up. And I salute her kind of like a soldier would, like a commander, and then do a bow as well. I'll say, thank you kindly, ma'am, for hosting this beautiful party. Much appreciated. And I go back.
She says, you are welcome as guests in my home. Please avail yourself of all my stores and all the comforts that you wish yourselves. No expense has been spared. Enjoy every last morsel.
Thank you very much. Will do. And it looks delicious.
Yes.
Thank you, Countess. We also hope to have an audience with you at some point. Can this be arranged in a more private manner?
Perhaps. But I just have to make sure that you aren't boring and tasteless first. I wouldn't want to find you lacking in any way before we have private business, would I?
No, I understand. I have a very interesting cat. That should be enough.
An interesting cat. What a treat. Well, please enjoy yourselves. Tell me, what parts do you come from?
Actually, all three of us have come from Tierhaven.
Where's that?
Oh, it's just a small town, sort of off the main roads, middle of the Octenwald Forest.
Oh my, such a dark and dreary place. I've heard there are many things that go bump in the night around those parts.
We're used to dealing with bumps in the night, Countess.
Are you? Fascinating. She sips deeply of her wine.
In Rudy's head, should we start to question her about the delirium, or do we wait for a more private encounter?
And I just kind of like gesture like no, but like I just look like I'm doing something weird because I'm not trying to do this. I'm like no.
Countess, is there room for questions this evening? Or are you open to us conversing? I don't want to infringe on any, I want to make sure our manners are top-notch here, but are we able to ask questions?
Oh, but of course, I would relish any tidbit of gossip or any morsel of story you might have to offer. We get so few visitors in Castleholm these days. We're at the end of the trade roads, barely off toward little trade or custom comes this way. And of course, so many folk are now so wary of making the journey. I must say, I am very excited to have such interesting and well-traveled guests attending.
Well, it's our pleasure to be here. I don't want to dampen the mood or anything with my tales, but given the evening, is it like thunderstorming outside still? Is that like...
There's a light rain, yeah.
Given the evening and the nature of how our visit has gone so far, Castleholm seems ripe with ghost stories these days, and I'm very fascinated by them. And I'm wondering if that is something left for the commoners in the village, or if you yourself indulge in these ghost stories that are making the rounds around town of creatures that do go bump in the night.
Oh, I think you'll find that there are things that go bump in the night often are blown out of proportion for country bumpkins, I find. Those who have little knowledge of the way the world actually works are very quick to think of ghost stories and explanations of the supernatural to justify their smallest little trifling fears. For them, they're afraid of the idea that there could be chaos or uncertainty. They find it almost abhorrent that there must be some great thing controlling it all. But I say, enjoy the wine.
The wine is delicious and the food is great.
But specifically, we were attacked by a creature without a head. That is what my colleague Wilhelm was referring to. A headless beast struck at me several times with a giant flaming sword and then disappeared. I found this quite disturbing.
I have no doubt in my mind that this Dulan creature that the common folk speak of is likely little more than a brigand with a taste for theatrics. I rather like his style. I think once my soldiers do apprehend him, I might stay his execution just to find out how he put on his little show. Why is it that even in a world of so much wonder, there is plenty of room for more than one charlatan, don't you think?
I am too fascinated by his better what he has done to my poor chest.
Certainly, you are fortunate to have survived, and my great apologies that we have not been able to keep the roads as well patrolled and maintained of late. I do assure you that my castellan and my soldiers are doing their utmost to keep the area safe, but of course, things are stretched thin these days.
Well, are you talking about the soldiers that are at the lodge?
Ah, yes, the Steel Fangs. Very expensive security, I might add. Some of the finest soldiers in all of Westamar protecting this little village. And yet people complain. efficient overseer of this domain, and yet people treat me like I am some sort of interloper. I am as much a Von Kessel as any of the previous rulers here, just in name, but in name only, I am not. But the blood is just as thick in me as anyone else's.
Well, I mean, we've been here, what, a little bit of time now, and I don't know if you're getting your money's worth, because they seem to be hauled up over at that lodge. I've yet to see them in that village. They're supposed to be protected.
If they were in the village, they wouldn't be protecting the roads now, would they?
You're right. But I haven't seen them on the roads either.
Well, you're not on the roads right now, are you?
All right, now.
And pray tell, since arriving here, have you been on the roads more than once?
I was on the road and attacked by a headless horseman, so I
So
would
you
say,
have a sample size of one.
all right.
I don't think she meant any offense, Countess. We're just making conversation and getting to know the lay of the land, so to speak.
Too often, common superstitions breed from individual experiences. I find such pedestrian things and claims to be most unsatisfying and very unappetizing.
Countess, you say that the blood is as thick in you as any other Von Kessel. Were you? How is it that you came to be on the throne in this place? I know that there was a great tragedy here, not but maybe around 10 years ago, I suspect. And how long after was it that you claimed the throne, and how is it that you ended up here? I'd like to hear your story.
Well, you see, after my dear cousin's death, I was the only next of kin remaining, and with my family eager to see me seated in my own domain, I inherited this through right of title.
So you were the next person in line for the throne. Did nobody survive the massacre here?
I must admit, by the time I found out about it, it had already from what I understand, the corpses had already long cooled.
Your hospitality does not go unnoticed. How long have you held this fine statue?
A few years now, since several months after the end of the war.
I mean, as we're enjoying dinner here, I see that the courses are coming out, the wine is being poured. I was under the understanding that we had another high-profile individual who was going to be joining us this evening. The Hooded Lanterns are here, and their lieutenant commander was also here, I believe. Is he unavailable this evening?
The Countess turns to her Chamberlain. Chamberlain, where is our other guest of honor this evening? I hope he is not feeling too ill to come and join us for dinner. And the Chamberlain pauses for an uncomfortable beat. He says, "Yes, Your Grace, I will go and fetch him. Certainly, if he has fallen ill or is indisposed, he still can make a brief appearance, I would hope. Certainly, I believe his charges would much like to see that he is in good health, yes." With that, the Chamberlain scurries away and up the stairs towards the apartments. have our next little mouthful, don't we? Come on, just because the Chamberlain isn't ordering you around doesn't mean that you don't need to work just as fast. Bring out the next course.
I've already cleared my plate like a long time ago. I'm waiting.
I'm gonna lean like across Rudy and like pull Raph in and just kind of mutter to him, and I'm like, I need eyes on you for a second so I can check something. I need not a big distraction, but just draw the attention of the Countess for a moment, would you? And then I lean back. Very well. 25.
Okay, so you lean in close and mutter that to Wrath.
Yeah, and then I as I pull away, I go, but it is quite delicious, I would say.
Cool. All of you can roll me a d6.
Okay,
Five.
I'm gonna
Five.
stop
Fun.
the stream soon.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick up my daughter from school, so I'll catch you guys later.
And Ansem look concerned. They eye each other, and there's a moment where Petra leans across the table. Just
I feel my muscles are still sore from
Petra
yesterday.
is leaned into,
I guess it's gonna be worse tomorrow.
and
Then it
as they're
starts
leaning
getting
into
better.
whispering,
So.
you catch the faintest whisper of her saying, "It's not like Dad to. It isn't like Dad to be like this. What's going on?"